Hello, welcome back to JankTech. It's my series on Star Wars Unlimited where we do twin suns, alternate formats, janky combos, none of that sweaty meta stuff, not even during store showdown season, but maybe I'll show you all my Admiral Trench tech that I've been working on or something at some point. Anyway, today we are doing another Twin Suns deck tech. Before we get it started, please everyone, if you could like and subscribe, I would feel super happy about that. Like our friend Boba is saying here. And if you want to do more talking about Star Wars Unlimited, please feel, oh, we got a cat. Please feel free to join the swupdx Discord. We will have a link down below for that. We've got all kinds of people talking about Star Wars Unlimited all the time. We've got local events. We've got store showdowns scheduled. We've got, well, as soon as we'll get them, we'll get previews, all that fun stuff. Y'all get it. I hype this thing up every single time. Also, one more thing. People have been watching these videos. I've been absolutely loving it. Thank you so much for checking out the just how to make Twin Suns Guide to Padawans video. I really appreciate all the views that one's been getting, and hopefully I'll have some more good stuff for y'all coming up soon. Okay, enough beating around the bush. Let's get into it. What's this one about here? So I did a video recently on how to make a Twin Suns deck out of the Boba Fett Spotlight deck that came out at the beginning of Jump to Lightspeed, and I am doing one of those for the Han Solo deck. So these two decks I do not think are created equally. I think that the Boba Fett one is a stronger actual deck in terms of its ability to do synergistic stuff, to put out damage, to just have this cohesive sort of whole. The Han Solo pre-constructed deck is weird and wonky, which, I like. That's what this channel is about. Like, we celebrate the weird stuff. With all that in mind, I think it is less intuitive to make into a Twin Suns deck, but there've got to be people out there who are just like, you're new to the game. You're like, I think Han Solo is cool. There's a Han Solo pre-constructed deck. Let's get it. And okay, I have this. How do I turn this into a Twin Suns deck if you want to play this multiplayer format? So that's what this is. We are making a budget deck out of the Han Solo pre-constructed deck. And I'm going to pair him specifically with Lando Calrissian because they're old buddies. They're just buddy. Since you see them meet on screen for the first time in Empire Strikes Back. So what do these two leaders do? So Han Solo, as an action, you reveal the top card of your deck, then attack with a unit. If the revealed card and that card have different odd costs, that unit gets +1/+0 for this attack. You can use Han's epic action to either deploy him as a unit that's not very exciting on the ground as a 3/7, or you can use him as a pilot on his deploy. When deployed as an upgrade, a pilot. For each friendly unit or upgrade that has an odd cost, ready a resource, and he makes whatever vehicle he's on into a +3/+4. So this should tell you some things about how this deck is constructed. There are only odd costs in this deck because the idea behind this is if somebody is new to the game, I don't want to force a whole bunch of weird decision making in terms of, well, every turn we're going to gamble with Han. How do we make sure that we can get the right values on the top? We're not going to deal with that. We are making everything odd. And man, there was some weird choices to have to make with the deck building for sure. So who pairs well with Han? It's his old buddy Lando. So Lando here, also from JTL, as an action, spend 1, play a unit from your hand, paying its cost. If you do, and you control a ground unit and a space unit, give a shield token to a unit. So this is sort of like Luke's ability from Spark, where you can put a shield on something, but Lando only cares about you having things in different arenas. You can put the shield on anything, just as long as you have a ground unit and a space unit. You could even put a shield token on somebody else's stuff if you really wanted to, but we want our stuff to be more survivable. So Lando comes out at 7. He really is buying time. Oh my gosh. So when Lando comes out, he either deploys as a 5/7 Sentinel, or He is a pilot, makes whatever he's on a leader unit, gives it sentinel, and when you deploy Lando as an upgrade, you may give a shield token to a unit in a different arena. So most of the time that means you're giving a ground unit a shield, but it will occasionally mean if you deploy him on a ground vehicle, then you're giving a space unit a shield. And it gets +5/+5. Lando is gigantic, but we have to get to 7 resources. We've got to make sure that we'll actually be able to use Lando. And this is something I say over and over in these videos, is that you want your leaders to make an impact. You want to get everything you can out of them. I feel like pairing these two is about the best you can do in terms of beginners. Play the deck. It intuitively does what you think it should do. I will have some other suggestions after we're done with this main part about things that I think would be more interesting to build with Han. But for the time being, this is the one that I got here. It's gone really well in testing. I've really enjoyed playing it, and hopefully y'all will too. So we're pairing it with green because, of course, that's what the precon had. And let's get into it. What do we got in this deck? So we got 35 ground units. We got 21 space units. Ideally, it'd be a little bit more even, but there's only so many odd cost units in this game, and in trying to make everything fit a cost curve, you know, I'm doing pretty much, I think this is about as good as it gets here. So we got 3 30-second stalwart. It's a 1/2 for 1. Coordinate gets +1/+1. I love these guys. With this deck, seeing as you want to try to use Lando's ability as much as you can, you want to try to play as, you need to be able to play units to make Lando's ability work. So having as many cheap guys as possible is really good for this deck, because you need to be able to get stuff out, to be able to give shields and be able to pay for stuff. So having stuff like the 3 30-second stalwart is great for this deck if you're in a position where you need to quickly fill out the ground. Got an Alliance Dispatcher. It's a 1/2 action. Exhaust it, play a unit from your hand. It costs 1 less. Fantastic card in pretty much anything, but we really want that extra resource in this deck, especially to use Lando's ability. So Alliance Dispatcher does a lot of great work for us, helping to get our stuff out, helping to save a resource so we can hopefully try to play on curve still. Astromech Pilot. It is either a 1/3 with no abilities for 1, or you can play it as a pilot for 2. When played as an upgrade, you may heal 2 damage from a unit and +1/+3. Great. It makes our stuff survive a little bit easier, but it's also in a pinch a 1/3 on the ground that, again, remember, Han's ability will let us get an extra little bit of attack, and it gives us a little bit of extra intel on what our next card is going to be. So we can use this ability fairly regularly, hopefully, to try to not only squeeze a little bit more from our wimpy little guys like this, if we have to play it on the ground, but also to be like, okay, I can kind of plan for what I'm going to get next turn. So that's kind of part of the reason I feel okay having some of these little weenies in here as well. We got Bail Organa. He's a 1/2 action. Exhaust him, give an experience token to another friendly unit. This is great. This is one of those units that people will definitely try to get rid of, because Bail can make things get out of hand if if they let him. Getting experience on your guys is really nice in this deck, because again, your curve is going to be kind of weird compared to everyone else's, and getting the most out of everything you have on the board is excellent. Bail lets you do that. We got a Bunker Defender. You got to have Bunker Defender if you're playing Lando. It's a 2/1. While you control a vehicle unit, this gains Sentinel. We are going to be trying our best to have vehicles, because we need units in space in order for Lando's ability to work. So when you are getting your initial hand of cards, you definitely want to prioritize a line of play where you can say, okay, I can play this on the ground, this in space, this on the ground, this in space. And this is one of those cards that is like, okay, great. This is a solid card to play if I see a space play coming up soon. Giving this a shield with Lando also feels real good. Clone Deserter. This is in the precon. It's a 2/3 with restore 1. Of course, it does have the draw card bounty. It is undercosted, but you can get some swings in with this earlier. If you can hit for 3 on its first turn, that's fantastic. Dagger Squadron Pilot. It's either a 2/1 or a pilot that costs 1. That's also a +2/+1. Just a nice, easy little pilot to stick on something and make it that much better. And I feel like I'll keep on saying this throughout this video. And an extra +1 from Han's ability, assuming that you are able to get something that is not a 1 cost on the top of your deck. I guess I should go over this really fast before we get too much into this deck. You can see our cost curve is real weird. It's real weird. We have 32 1 cost cards. We have 34 3 cost cards. We've got 12 5 cost cards, and then we've got 2 7 cost cards. This is not what a regular cost curve looks like by any means. And it's something that you will need to plan for when having stuff out. So you will want to try, well, obviously you're going to have mostly a mix of 1s and 3s, which should be okay. You should be playing multiple units per turn a lot of the time, or using your extra resource for playing 1 unit to put a shield on something else to make it live longer. And so with this kind of wonky cost curve, you can say most of the time, I think I've got 50-50 odds in either getting a 1 cost or a 3 cost on the top. So if you only have 1 cost worth of stuff out on the board, then this is a way of saying, well, it's kind of like flipping the coin, but you can weight things a little bit more in your favor with some smart play here. Anyway, back to the stuff in the deck. We got Greedo. Greedo's in the precon. He's a 3/1 with a, when defeated, you may discard a card from your deck. If it's not a unit, deal 2 damage to a ground unit. Great, so you can potentially hurt something more. You can swing for up to 4 with Han. We love Greedo. We put Greedo in everything. Independent Smuggler, 1/1 with raid 1, or piloting for 1, give something raid 1 and +1/+1. Also great to stick on a vehicle. Like, this is a fairly pilot heavy deck. There's a lot of that kind of stuff in the Han precon, and I wanted to keep the spirit in this one as well. But I feel like in this deck, you don't want to be afraid of playing these little guys to the ground if you have to, just as long as you can get something in space. We will have the where are you? We will have the Wolfpack Escort in here, so you can bring a pilot back to your hand and play it onto a unit instead of just having it as a ground unit the whole time. So that is one option. We don't have a whole lot of options like that, but just know that if you get that card, that is something that you can use it for. And also, like, come on, y'all know how I feel about Aitor Prieto, my favorite artist in this game. We get a little twofer with our Aitor Prieto art here. Anytime I can stick him in, I'll feel good about it. Got a Jawa Scavenger. It's 2/1 Saboteur for 1. This is great. Gets through Sentinels. Sentinels are super valuable in Twin Suns. You give it a shield to make it survive a little bit longer. Even better, this will slip under the radar. People are going to be looking for bigger units, not caring as much about the Jawa. Then you can just slip in and stick a knife in somebody's ribs. Okay, Maz Kanata. Okay, I love Maz. I want to keep putting her in decks. I think she's great here because there's a lot of cheap guys. 1/1 for 1. When you play another unit, give an experience token to this unit. I say this every time with Maz. She's here for a good time, not a long time. If you can somehow get away with building her up without her getting waylaid or killed in some other fashion, then she can potentially do a lot. But also, if you're making somebody use a removal card on a 1 cost unit, then that's also pretty good. So she's great at making people make that decision, and that's one of the things in this game I absolutely love. We got a Moisture Farmer. It's a 0/4 with Restore 2. You can potentially swing for 1 with Han, but more importantly, this is another one of those units that in any Twin Suns game that I've played, you put a Moisture Farmer down and immediately everybody's like, we got to get rid of that Moisture Farmer. This just heals so much from your base, even though you attack for 0 or 1 with the Moisture Farmer. People will also prioritize trying to remove this because restoring 2 every time it attacks is real good. Nian Num. Loyal Nian Num. He was in the precon. He's a 1/2. He gets +1/+0 for each other friendly pilot unit and upgrade, or you can stick him on a vehicle for 1. The attached unit gets +1/+0 for each other friendly pilot unit and upgrade. So we've got 2 pilot leaders, so having either of them out in any capacity makes Nian Num or whatever he's on stronger. We've got a decent amount of other pilots in this deck. I mean, even so far, what have we seen? We've seen the Astromech pilot. We've seen the Dagger Squadron pilot. We've seen the Independent Smuggler. There's a good amount of pilots in here. So he's another one where if he's just hanging on the ground, like he can do some good work. And like you don't necessarily have to feel bad about playing him as a ground unit if you have no better options. R2-D2, Ignoring Protocol, it's such a good Twin Suns card. I think this is one of those, it's good in any hero Twin Suns deck because it's got the when played and on attack. Look at the top card of your deck. You may put it on the bottom of your deck. You just get to cycle through. You get to see more stuff. You get to say, no, I don't actually want that. Yes, I do actually want that. But it just gives you more choices. R2 is fantastic. Love him. And maybe you'll be able to hit for 2 instead. R2. Again, R2 is a 1/4 with no stats on the ground or piloting 0. You can put R2 on a vehicle that already has a pilot on it, and attached unit gains, you may play or deploy one additional pilot on this unit, and it gets a +1/+1. So it just, R2 makes anything like slightly better if it's a vehicle that you intend to put a pilot on. It's really awesome if you can get it on the Millennium Falcon that came in this precon, but like honestly anything. Or, you know, it's another one of those things that Nian Num likes a whole ton because it's just another cheapo pilot that in some cases you can play for free. You can't argue with that. It's just these little aggregate sources of damage. Okay, so we got all of our 1 costs on the ground. What do we got for 3 costs? Obviously, there's a lot of them. Admiral Akbar. Akbar is also in the precon. He's a 1/4, restore 1, and when played, you may deal damage to a unit equal to the number of units you control in its arena. So if you control 3 space units when you play Akbar, then you can do 3 damage to something in space. If you control 3 ground units, including Akbar, you can deal 3 damage to something on the ground. Akbar is awesome. He's got a reasonable size butt. Is that the first mention of butts in this video? And the restore 1, also kind of a pain for people. So we like Akbar. Akbar gets us a little bit further on to where we want to be in this deck. I feel like this deck has a bit of stalling for time, which I think is thematic considering Lando is buying time. We're not going to have units that are out and out as threatening as other people until it's too late. Ooh. Okay, so we got Boshek. Boshek also in the precon. He's a 3/4, no abilities on the ground, or you can play him for 2 as a pilot. When played as an upgrade, discard 2 cards from your deck, return each of those cards with an odd cost to your hand, and +1/+2 on the vehicle. Guess what? Boshek is essentially 2 cost upgrade that gives you 2 cards and buffs a vehicle. Because everything's odd, it's going to go back to your hand. So he is fantastic with this particular Han leader, which is why he's in the precon, and I think he's just a pretty solid dude. You may have noticed that some of these pilots, Boshek, R2, have different costs than the printed cost in the corner. This is great. Whenever a card cares about the cost for something, like if it's Leader Han, for example, it cares about whatever number is in the top corner of the card. So any costs that are like, oh, piloting 2 in a yellow, no, that's not what it cares about. So even though Boshek has an even numbered cost on his card, it's not what his card costs. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility with playing things, kind of, sort of more on curve, because you will have some things that are like, oh, this is 2 to pilot. Okay, fine. This is something that I would normally play in the 2 resource spot. We got a Cloud City Wingguard. It's 2/4 Sentinel. And, you know, Lando is the administrator of Cloud City. So, of course, you know, a little bit of nod in Lando's direction. It's just gunks up the works on the ground. If you are able to get a shield on it with Lando, awesome. It's basically a slightly better village protectors. So I think this guy is pretty solid for keeping ground threats away. The Coruscant Dissident. Okay, yeah, I think at this point I've given up trying to pronounce the name of this planet. Coruscant. Somebody can like phonetically spell it, please. But anyway, what this does, it's a 3/4 on attack. You may ready a resource. So number one, reasonable size butt. Number two, cool artwork. Twilight doesn't matter yet, but at some point we're going to get some Twilight tribal support, right? And then on attack, you may ready a resource. This is the important thing here because we want more juice for the squeeze. Our cost curve is weird. Any extra resources we can possibly wrangle are awesome, whether they are for doing something like using Lando to pay that extra 1 to play a unit to get a shield. Well, and then this essentially pays for the 1 if we can do something else like play another 1-cost unit afterwards or put a 1-cost pilot on something. Just there's a few of these kinds of things in this deck. I didn't put any actual ramp in because there's not really any good consistent ramp in Twin Suns. I mean, yes, there's a few things, but I feel like this is a little bit more intuitive for a new player to be like, great, I can look in my hand and I could be like, oh, I have 3 resources that I can, if I have a turn where I've already played this and I spend 3 resources to play something else, I've got maybe 1 left. I swing with this, I ready a resource, I play 2-cost pilot onto something, boom, 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 and they all line up. Love this card. I love getting to stick it in a deck for pretty much any reason. Echo Base Defender, 4/3 Sentinel. Again, gums up the works on the ground. If you can get a shield on it with Lando, even better. You can swing for up to 5 with it with Han's ability, which is pretty good for something you played on turn 2. Ezra Bridger. Oh my gosh. Ezra and Han. So this was in the pre-con. I thought this was a really clever little card interaction that they put in there. Ezra's a 3/4. When this unit completes an attack, look at the top card of your deck. You may play it, discard it, or leave it on top of your deck. If you're using Han's ability to attack with Ezra, you're already going to know what the top card of your deck is before you finish your attack. So it is a good way to get the intel before deciding what things what am I going to prioritize during this attack. I think it's really cool. I think it's another good way to cycle through your deck. Ezra's just great. I think any of these top deck interacting cards are very cool with this Han leader, and if you can get Ezra out, definitely prioritize getting him out. He is so good for moving your deck forward and trying to get to a point where you can start to play bigger things to let you stabilize, to let you set up to win. L337, get out of my seat. So she is a 3/3. If this unit would be defeated when she's on the ground, you may instead attach her as an upgrade to a friendly vehicle unit without a pilot on it. And then in parentheses, she's no longer a unit. Defeat all upgrades on her. Remove all damage from her. So yeah, she just hops onto a vehicle and takes on off. Or you can just play her as a pilot for 3. She adds +3 to something, or she's a 3/3. So L3 is one of those units where it feels good to have her on the ground, attack into something and kill it. Maybe it would kill her, and then she can just hop into a vehicle. Love L3. Also, like sticking her with Lando, it just feels really good and thematic. Leia Organa pilots to your stations. I believe she was also in the pre-con. She's a 3/4. She has Restore 1. When played, you may attack with a pilot unit or a unit with a pilot on it. It gets +1/+0 and gains Restore 1 for this attack. So unfortunately, you can't combine this and the Han leader attack ability for a +2, but being able to get a couple extra pluses during the course of one turn is really nice. There's a lot of pilots in this deck, so the chances that you're going to be able to use Leia's ability are pretty good. And also, her stats are pretty reasonable considering all the different things that she does. Leia is great. Okay, Rafa Martez. I think Rafa is another cool example of trying to be creative with getting the most of your resources in this deck. So she's a 3/3 Underworld. When played and on attack, deal 1 damage to a friendly unit and ready a resource. You have to do that when played. No matter what, you have to do it when attacking. But you do have a way of consistently getting shields on things with Lando, which is easier to do, again, if you're using her to ready a resource, or if you have something that you don't care that it's going to die at some point, you can stick the damage on that. But using her to get a little bit extra on your turn, especially if you're combining her with the dissident, if you're combining her with the alliance dispatcher. Like, these are all ways of slightly discounting or getting the most out of what resources you have, which I think are very cool. Rogue Operative, it's a 2/4 Saboteur with Raid 2 for 3. This card just does so much as a common, even. Like, it's so good. So you can potentially hit with this for 5 with Han, since it's a Saboteur and has Raid 2. You can put that 5 basically wherever you want. You can just go to the base fairly easily. I think this card is a fantastic include in this deck. I also, like, anytime I see this card in my hand, I'm like, yes, this is such a good card to have out. It's going to do lots of work for us. Skyway Cloud Car. Yes, it is a ground unit. It confuses me too. It's also a fighter, which is a little bit weird, but more importantly, it's another vehicle that one of our pilots can make better, and it has a cool when defeated effect. You may return a non-leader unit with 2 or less power to its owner's hand. So there's a lot of things that, like, if we're looking at someone else has a rogue operative, someone else has a Sundari peacekeeper, anything that has raid, this is like anti-raid tech right here. So I think 2 sounds low, but there's a surprising amount of 2 or less power things that this can handily get rid of when it dies. And if you're just hitting for 3 with it and then maybe sticking a pilot on there just to get a little bit more, all that stuff adds up. And I think that's, again, one of the strengths of this deck is it's just a little here, a little here, a little here, a little there, and then boom, big hit a couple of times. Sundari Peacekeeper, oh my god. It's a 1/5, giant butt. Raid 2, so it'll hit for 3, maybe even 4 with Han. It's got Restore 2, so there's a lot of Restore here. We're buying time. This guy is so hard to kill. If you're able to get an experience on it from Bail Organa, if you're able to get a shield on it from Lando, like, you can just keep on doing stuff with this, and it's just gonna consistently do small amounts of damage for you every turn that will add up. It's a hard one to get rid of because 5 health it's pretty beefy for a 3 cost. So I think, like, all of these units, they're just, none of them are spectacularly amazing on their own, but once you have a couple of them out, you make them harder to kill. You're doing a lot of subtle damage, which doesn't make you look like as much of a threat compared to someone that's like, oh, I have Wedge Antilles deployed on a Millennium Falcon with Chewbacca as the co-pilot. And it's like, no, I'm just here with my Sundari Peacekeeper just vibing, dude. Trace Martez. Yeah, right. We got both Martezes in here. They work so good together. She's a 2/5 with nothing else going for her for 3. Or piloting 1, attached unit gains on attack. You may heal 2 damage from any number of units and +1/+2. Great. So if we're attacking with Rafa, we're damaging things, then we can use Trace to heal those things. Awesome. She's a cheap pilot, so we can squeeze her in at a different spot on the curve if we need to, as long as we've got a vehicle. So there's some good flexibility with her. But, a 2/5 for 3 could even hit for 3 with Han's ability. It's not too bad. It's not going to set the world on fire. But again, we're just going for little bits over time here. And Village Protectors. It's a 2/2 Sentinel with a shield. Awesome. Play with Lando. Give it a second shield. Like, maybe someone will be able to pierce through the shields with a piercing shot. But most of the time, like, this is going to stop ground pretty severely unless there's some saboteurs in play. Village Protectors can just be so annoying to deal with, especially if you keep shielding them up with Lando. Love them. I love them so much. Do not ever feel like you should resource them. I had such a hard time paring down all the 3s because I feel like all of them work so well in this deck. So I think the ones that are in here are pretty solid for just carrying you until you can get to the next point in the deck to get to your 5 costs, to get Han deployed and start actually doing some legitimate damage. They just are good at kind of gumming up the works and doing damage on the sly. So 5 costs. We got VO5 Tui, our pilot friend, 5/6 on the ground, can't be defeated or returned to hand by enemy card abilities. And then you can play him as a 3 cost pilot to give attached unit. This unit can't be defeated or returned to hand by enemy card abilities, and a +3/+3. Chewie is just a tank. He's so good. He is one of those cards that you're just like, if you can get him and Han on the Millennium Falcon, it's just done. Like it makes it so hard to deal with. But he's just really good on whatever you stick him on. Even if you're sticking him on a Skyway Cloud car, then you're turning that into a 6/6 that you have to run into in order to kill. And considering you're probably going to have a bunch of Sentinels, then that's going to be difficult for people to deal with too. Speaking of Chewies, we got the other Chewbacca from the first set. He's a 3/6 Sentinel, and when he is attacked, ready him. Again, another prime target to play with Lando to get a shield on, because if anybody is foolhardy enough to attack you while he is out, and it's not a saboteur, then, well, he's getting ready. So the more he can survive, the better. And a 3/6, like, he's got a big enough butt that he can definitely take a few hits before he dies. Clone Commander Cody. He's a 4/4 with Overwhelm and Coordinate. Each other friendly unit gets +1/+1 and gains Overwhelm. Cody's probably not going to stick around that long either. And he was in the pre-con, so I felt it would be good to give him some time here. I'm not sure necessarily how useful he is in Twin Suns, considering it's harder to get as many units out consistently. But I still feel like even if you're just giving a few other units a buff, it's going to help get that chip damage that we've been talking about, that sort of nondescript under the radar stuff. Of course, Cody is going to draw fire. He always draws fire. So just keep that in mind when you play him. But the cool thing about Cody is that since he's 5, you might be playing him on your 5 resource turn. That's the turn that Han can deploy onto a ship. And when Han deploys onto a ship, the potential to ready all or most of your resources is very real with him. So it can put you into some interesting situations where you can get a couple of big things out that might benefit from Cody all at the same time. Plo Koon, Koto, yeah. So he's a 3/6 with Ambush and Coordinate rate 3. So Plo Koon could potentially hit for 6. So other cool thing about the way this deck works with Lando's ability specifically. Lando's ability, again, you pay 1, you exhaust him, you play a unit from your hand, paying its cost. If you do, and you control a ground unit and a space unit, give a shield token to a unit. You do all that stuff in the box before resolving any of the when played abilities on the units that you're playing. So you can give Plo Koon a shield before you ambush him out, which means he is going to be ready to absolutely destroy something on his next turn as well and take no damage from it. I think this is such a cool feature of Lando's. Obviously, anything that has ambush is going to have a bit more of a cost built into it because of being able to use it right away. But I think if you're able to pay the 6 and bring Plo Koon out with Lando, you're not going to feel bad about it. He's going to absolutely eradicate something. 6 is enough to take out some leaders too at that point in the game. So definitely encourages some decisions to make, I think, even with newer players. But I feel like this is like a fairly simple one in terms of trying to get your play lines straight compared to, say, if we included cards that were even in this deck. Like, what would we be doing then? We've got the Mandalorian Weathered Pilot. I'm pretty sure this was in the pre-constructed deck as well, also semi-off aspect. So this costs 7 to play on the ground, and when you do play him on the ground, it's a 5/6 that it exhausts up to 2 ground units, which is actually still reasonable for a 7 cost. But you can play him as a pilot for 2, and when played as an upgrade, exhaust an enemy unit in this arena and give it +3/+1, which is awesome. So this is another one of those, like, fits in weird places on your cost curve kind of cards, makes vehicles better, but can be a potential late game bomb to completely shut a couple of things down on the ground that maybe you don't have an answer for, or maybe you're like, okay, I think I can win this game if I can just hit at the right time. Because remember, 7 resources is also the turn Lando can come out, and we go from the Mandalorian to the Landolorian. That's what Lando's name is short for, right? It's Lando Calrissian. In any case, this could be a good way of shutting the board down before deploying Lando and coming in for big game-changing swings. So just keep that in mind too. And then our actual 7 cost on the ground, we've got Han Solo, Reluctant Hero, the Spike Spiegel looking picture from set 1, 6/6 with ambush. While attacking, this unit deals combat damage before the defender. He is a great late game bomb to just deal with some sort of threat immediately. I feel like it's unlikely that he will benefit from getting a Lando shield because that would require 8 resources. But I think he is just really good at being a high impact unit on what's likely going to be the last turn of the game. But if you need to save him for one more turn, if you think it's going to go to 8 resources, then, you know, there's worse things in this world. Cool. We got our ground units. As you saw, a lot of them were pilots. So we've got the flexibility to put them on a lot of these things. So what do we got for space? We got our 21 space units. Of course, we got the Cartel Turncoat. The Precon uses these. I think it's a great card. I mean, obviously, you're taking a little bit of a risk to get a 2/3 in space for 1 resource because it's got the draw a card bounty on there. But this is one of those cards that Han really needs. Han needs cheap 1-cost units in order to get first turn plays. And I think Cartel Turncoat does a great job of filling that role. You'll likely give somebody a card from this, but being able to hit for 2 or 3 with it is still pretty good in terms of getting some good little damage in. Mining Guild TIE Fighter. It is a 1/2 in space for 1. On attack, you may pay 2 if you do draw a card. I feel like the card draw ability might not happen a whole lot, but in terms of getting another space unit for us to turn Lando's ability on, there's not too many in here. So I'm like, well, we're definitely going to put this one in. If we can get the ability to go off, great. Because of the few cost-saving things that we have in the deck, there might be a time when you get that extra card draw. But I'd say most of the time, just plan on using this as this is going to help get both of our leader abilities to work. Republic Y-Wing. It's a 1/3, no abilities for 1. Again, it's not particularly impressive, but we're talking about 1-cost space units here, which are, generally speaking, when compared to ground units of the same price, they do a little bit less than a ground unit does. But you can still use it with Lando. You can still use that to say, okay, here's my 1 unit in space, here's my 1 unit in the ground. Let's give a shield to something. You can stick a pilot on it. There are a myriad of pilots in this deck. So yeah, it's not super exciting, but like also it's the fact that it's not super exciting is not going to draw much fire its way. And the Wolfpack Escort. It's a 2/1. When played, you may return a friendly non-leader, non-vehicle unit to its owner's hand. So that is basically in here because we want to use this to bring back any pilots that were on the ground that we were like, okay, I'm desperate. I need to play this somewhere just to get a little bit of damage in. Well, boom, you play the Wolfpack Escort after attacking with that ground pilot, bring it back into your hand. Maybe if you've got enough resources, you can just play it on the Wolfpack Escort and get ready for your next turn. I think this card is super cool. I'm pretty sure it was one of the ones in the pre-con too. I think it's a really solid choice that works well with all the pilot stuff. We got some 3 costs. So again, the 3 costs, I tried to keep them as, what's the best way of saying this? I tried to get some good, well-rounded 3 costs here. The deal with the 3 costs here is these are likely going to be the ships that you deploy Han onto. So we want them at least to be somewhat sturdy for the most part. And we don't want any of them to look super threatening because we don't want our opponents removing them. So hopefully you can get at least 2 of these played to get you some options before deploying Han onto one of them. The Blade Squadron B-Wing can be good. It's a 3/3 when played. If another player controls 3 or more exhausted units, give a shield token to a unit. So this one's not likely going to benefit on turn 2 as much as other ones will, but if you play it later on, it's gonna, just getting a free shield is pretty good. Blue leader. Oh, I love blue leader so much. So 3/3 with ambush. Again, we've gone through how great ambush is with Lando's ability, as in being able to put the shield on it before this does its ambush. So you can do an ambush with it, and when played, you may pay 2. If you do, move this unit to the ground arena and give 2 experiences to it. It now is a ground unit. And I think this is such a cool, flexible card. I love that you can pay a wide variety of costs with this one to sort of tailor it to whatever you need. You pay 3 for an ambush in space. You pay 4 for an ambush in space with a shield. You pay 5 for an ambush on the ground with 2 experience, and you pay 6 for an ambush on the ground with 2 experience and a shield. So good. And let's not forget too, you can do the win playeds on this one in whatever order you want. So you could always ambush in space after putting the shield on, and then move it to the ground and put its experience tokens on it. It's so cool. It's so versatile. I love the way it works with both of these leaders. So yeah, blue leader, always a solid pick. Concord Dawn Interceptors. It is a 1/4 Sentinel that gets a +2/+0 while defending. It just gums up the works in space. You can hit for a little bit more with it if you use Han's ability. And I mean, you can deploy Han onto it too if you have no other good things to do with him. And it doesn't feel that bad because it's got a fairly decent sized butt, and people don't like attacking into this because of the buff that it gives while defending. So it's like, keep that one in mind. But like, this card has just been, I think, a staple in blue hero decks since Shadows of the Galaxy. And I think will continue to be a staple in blue hero decks because it's just a really good early game Sentinel in space. Death Space Skirmisher, also in the precon, 3/3 for 3. When played, if you control another space unit, you may exhaust a unit. That is any unit. Any unit means leader units. It means giant chonkus units on the ground. It means somebody's Grogu that you think is going to exhaust something else, and you're just trying to get to it before it does. I love the flexibility on sort of shutting down the board here, and I think it's solid enough for its stats. It's not going to, again, it's not going to set the world on fire, but you don't feel necessarily that bad about playing this and then being able to do something else with it. And if you're able to afford to get a shield by overpaying with Lando, if you're able to put a pilot on it, there's all sorts of ways of gussying up these ships to make them more exciting. Eager Escort Fighter, a 4/1 with ambush. This is like the perfect Lando card because you give it the shield, you ambush it in, you do 4 damage to something in space, it dies, life is good. Alrighty, the landing shuttle. This was a later addition to this deck because I was like, I need a few more space units. I need as many lower cost space units as I can. So I took out a couple of the ground units. I put this one in. It's a 2/4. When defeated, you may draw a card. It's not really snazzy either. But again, like I've been saying, it can hit for 3 with Han if his ability works right. You can stick a pilot on it. You could stick Han on it. It's just another solid source of damage that people aren't necessarily going to want to kill because it gives you a card. And card advantage is real nice in this format. Of course, we've got the Millennium Falcon. And yes, I can't stop pronouncing it Falcon. I feel like it was, it's either Han or Lando, or maybe both of them that pronounces it like that. I mean, come on, like Lando says Han, all right? So we can pronounce things funny ways. In any case, the Millennium Falcon, it's a 3/4. You may player deploy 1 additional pilot on it. It gets +1/+0 for each pilot on it. So, I mean, like, if this thing survives long enough, you could, in theory, put both Han and Lando on it, and also R2. So, I mean, it's unlikely. Like, that's about as likely as Grievous getting 4 lightsabers. But, we're here to dream. But if you're able to get this out turn 2 or turn 3 with a shield and stick Han on it on his deploy turn, like, that's generally, like, the ideal situation. Of course, Han wants to be on the Millennium Falcon. Omicron Strikecraft, it's a 2/3 Sentinel. Just another gum up the works for 3. More Sentinels. Sentinel that you can pay 4 for to give it a shield. If you have a ground unit, I think it's another solid pick to just keep people from attacking you and to say, hey, look, I just have this little bitty guy. It's not a threat. I think people in my play group are on to me when I say I'm not a threat, though. Okay, we got Red Squadron X-Wing 3/4. When played, you may deal 2 damage to this unit. If you do draw a card, well, guess what? You pay 4 with Lando. You get your shield on there. Then you deal the damage to it. Then you've got a 3/4 and a card, and the 3/4 has no damage on it. I think that seems pretty good for 4. The Republic Arc 170, it's just a 3/4 for 3 with no downsides whatsoever. It's not especially interesting, but it's a solid ship. You play this, you get a shield on it. It's just going to hit over and over. It's not going to be super demanding. You're going to be like, okay, fine, Arc 170. I wasn't in love before, but I think I'm in love a little bit now. I know this is ridiculous, but point being, it's not going to be like the most exciting ship for your opponents to want to kill either. It's just going to be a 3/4. I mean, even with Han on it, and he gives it +3, +4, so we would make it a 6/8. Okay, yeah. I mean, like at that point, it starts to become a problem. But like that's what's so cool about a lot of these little ships is that once you get a leader on them on turn 4, then they just get a completely new lease on life. So any of these can potentially start looking like a big old threat. So we just hope that people aren't going to immediately confiscate. Okay, so let's see. We are at the Sanctioner's Shuttle. This is another one of my pet cards. It's a 2/3 coordinate when played. This unit captures an enemy non-leader unit that costs 3 or less. Love capture. I love the way capture works in Twin Suns because, again, you capture somebody's thing. 2 other people are kind of like, we kind of like that thing being gone. Maybe we're not going to attack the Sanctioner's Shuttle. And then the one other person's going to have a hard time getting it back. It's, again, like if you put Han on there, it's a 5/7, so it's not the worst thing in the world. But it's just good at doing like a little bit extra. And, you know, you can always attack with it for up to 3 if Han's ability fires. Shuttle Tidarium, this was definitely in the precon. It's a 2/4. On attack, discard a card from your deck. If it has an odd cost, you may give an experience token to another unit. Literally every card has an odd cost, so it is guaranteed experience. And yeah, it does kind of hurt to discard a card sometimes, but if you structure your turn well and you use Han's ability early on so you know what that card is, then you're like, okay, well, I can kind of plan around what the Shuttle Tidarium is going to discard that, or maybe you can have Ezra out and say, okay, no, I'm going to play it with Ezra as soon as I can, and then I can attack with the Shuttle Tidarium. So like there's ways of formulating this that make this a little bit easier to deal with. But then again, this is Twin Suns. You have an 80 card deck. You're probably not going to go through all of your cards anyway. So yeah, you might see something go into your discards that's going to hurt. But also that's just kind of the risk that you run. And here you're just getting free experience essentially. Okay, we got some 5 costs. We got the Black Squadron Scout Wing. It's a 4/6. When you play an upgrade on this unit, you may attack with this unit. It gets +1/+0 for this attack. I think that is so cool. I love the idea of just getting the instant attack. So you put a pilot on there. It swings real hard, real quick. So the interesting thing about this one, just when you play an upgrade on this unit, I am not 100% sure if that is the same thing as deploying onto it. I'm pretty sure that it works for pilots deploying onto it, but if anybody knows better or differently, please let me know, because I've been playing it like, oh yeah, you can deploy your leader onto it and just go to the races. Dakar Cargo Frigate, it's a 6/7, gets -1/-0 for each damage on it, but it is undercosted. And if you use Lando, I mean, I know that you would be playing this for 6 resources. In this case, just being able to say, hey, we can put a shield on this, it'll maintain its damage. And then, you know, we stick Lando on this when he comes out. This is a 6/7. Lando gives something +5/+5. So like Lando swinging for 11 damage is real cool. Yeah, this is a card I've been messing around with in a Rose deck recently too, but I really like just being able to shield it up with Lando and preserve the amount of damage it can do until it can actually get in there and do it. MC-30 Assault Frigate. It's 5/5 Overwhelm and Raid 1, so it can hit for 6. It might actually get to hit for 7 if for some reason Han is still in the leader zone to give a buff to it, because there aren't a whole lot of 5 costs in this deck. So the 5s, if they hit with Han, are likely to do an extra damage, which is pretty nice. U-Wing Lander. I think U-Wing Lander with pilot leaders is real cool. So it's a 2/2. When played, give 3 experience tokens to it. When this unit completes an attack and survives, you may attach an upgrade on this unit to another eligible friendly vehicle unit. So you can just transfer your leaders around. You can transfer experience around. I mean, it has to have started on this, but it's just very cool the way it lets you sort of reinforce other vehicles. I would love to see more U-Wings, honestly, because U-Wing Reinforcement was a very cool card. The way it was like, also dig through your stuff and get things. U-Wing Lander being able to spread your things around is also just super cool. And we've got the Tanty VVVVVVV. It's a 5/7 Sentinel. When deployed, make an X-Wing. The X-Wing is like, it's nice, but really it's just a big old chunky Sentinel that if you are able to put Lando on it, it's going to hit for 10 damage. But, you know, the odds are against that happening, being that would be turn 8. Well, that would be resource turn 8 that you'd be swinging with. But still, it's just going to make it so that this late in the game, it's going to make space a much more unfriendly place to be for people trying to sneak some damage into your base. And we got some events. Again, they are all 1s and 3s and a couple of 5s. This part is weird. Removal. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of even numbered removal in this game. So I put in what I could. I was kind of upset that you can't play You're All Clear Kid in this deck because it's a 2 cost. I mean, yeah, you can, but you know, that doesn't work with not telling somebody the odds. Commence Patrol. Put another card in a discard pile on the bottom of its owner's deck. If you do, create an X-Wing token. This card is basically in here to say, pay 1, get an X-Wing. And I think getting an X-Wing out for cheap is very useful because it helps you get things in both arenas. If you are struggling for space units, it's essentially another 1-cost space unit. And also is another place that you can, okay, you're like, oh, we got an X-Wing. We can start sticking pilots on there. We can make it better. So it's just gives you some more options. I just look at it as the 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th 1-cost space unit in this deck. Covert Strength. You know I love this. It's a blue Twin Suns deck. We're putting Covert Strength in it. Heal 2 damage from a unit and give an experience token to it, and you can smuggle it in for 3. I say it again and again, smuggling gives you options. Being able to play this later in the game when you might really, really, really need it to turn the tide is just so good. And the fact that you can play it for 1 out of your hand is also great. Diversion. Give unit Sentinel for this phase. Awesome. Someone gets all cute, kills your Sentinel, the last Sentinel that you had, and you're like, they're getting smug because they think they can get into your base. And then you say, nope, I'm creating diversion with this last little chump that I have. I love this card. Just emergency Sentinel. Fantastic. Dogfight. Attack with a unit. Even if it's exhausted, that unit can't attack bases for this attack. So a lot of times, if we're playing our cards right in this deck, we will have exhausted units that have shields on them because of Lando. So if we need to use that to attack into something, kill it, ping the shield off, we can do that with Dogfight. It would be even better if we could use it with Overwhelm, so we could do some damage to a base. But even so, being able to attack with a shielded unit into another unit and get rid of it is excellent. Dogfight is such a good removal card. And it makes use of what we have. And I think in terms of the cards that we have available to us, Dogfight gives an extra interesting additional option. Electromagnetic Pulse, deal 2 damage to a droid or vehicle unit and exhaust it. Just lock a few things down. I have that in here more to deal with vehicles, but if someone wants to play a droid, then I'm not going to feel bad about exhausting that either. Poor IG-88. Oh, man. Flying Casual, ready a vehicle unit. It can't attack bases for this phase. I mean, we got Han and Chewie flying the shuttle Tidarium in here. Of course, this has to all be in here. So it's kind of just like Dogfight, except, a second copy of it. Except if anything, for some reason, cares about vehicles being ready, or if you need to ready a vehicle so someone can't attack into it with Boba Fett Disintegrator or with the Houndstooth, then this can do that for you. Punch It, attack with vehicle unit, gets +2/+0 for this attack. Great, we've got a bunch of vehicle units. We want to make them hit bigger, faster, harder, stronger. This does it. Recruit. Easy. We got green. We're going to use it for some tutoring. Search top 5 cards of your deck for a unit, reveal it, and draw it. So if you're not getting what you need when you need, this helps you get what you need when you need it. Shoot First, another card in the precon. It's got Han on there before they McClunkied him. Attack with the unit. It gets +1/+0 for this attack and deals its combat damage before the defender. Love that. So again, unfortunately, we can't use it with Han's leader ability, but we can just use this to use our units to get rid of something else. It's essentially a removal card. So it's a good one to save if you're just like, okay, we just have to get rid of something. We don't have any other choice here. Smuggler's Aid. Again, it's one of those screws up the math at the end of the game cards. You can heal 3 damage from your base for 1 or for 3 if you smuggle it in. This is just another solid include in a hero deck, especially in this one when we're trying to outlast people and we're just like, okay, 3 damage can make a lot of difference towards the end of the game with the way the math works. Tandem Assault. This is tailor-made for Lando. Attack with the space unit. If you do, attack with a ground unit, and that ground unit gets +2/+0 for this attack. We should be getting a mixture of space and ground units and getting shields distributed accordingly amongst them. So this gives us options for hitting a base for a whole lot, for removing a couple of units. Does a whole lot. And giving that extra buff to a ground unit it's not nothing either. Disruptive Burst. So here we're getting into some of our 3 costs. I love Disruptive Burst. Just all enemy units -1/-1 for this phase. We've got a bunch of cheap little weenie guys. You know what? Everybody else's guys are going to be cheap little weenies too. I think it puts everyone else on a more even playing field and hopefully encourages everyone to go all feeding frenzy on each other while everything is debuffed. And you could just be like, you guys can just leave my little units out of this. I've just got a Republic Y-Wing. I'm not a threat here. Hello there. Choose a unit that enter play this phase. It gets -4/-4 for this phase. This is another one of those great removal cards where it's not like takedown, but I feel like in the right circumstance, with the right timing, hello there can be just as devastating as takedown. This could also be one that's good negotiation fodder with other people. Say, that really bad problem unit over there, can you help me? I can do this much. And it's a good way to just build rapport with your other players and get people on your side and trying to point fingers around, especially point fingers away from you, which is very important. It's a trap. If an opponent controls more space units than you, ready each space unit you control. This is great. If for some reason we have some of our things die, maybe we just have our leader left. We just need one person with the other 3 people we're playing with to have more space units than us. So hopefully we'll be playing like against a Darth Vader or something, but this can be really good for just, hey, surprise, I'm going to hit with Han Solo on the Falcon for 6 more damage. being able to hit for Lando. Lando with even more damage would be even nicer. But, you know, like, this is a good one to save for your big leader bomb kind of cards. Never tell me the odds. Of course, this is in the pre-con. It's the text on the leader card for Han. We have to put this in. Discard 3 cards from an opponent's deck and 3 cards from your deck. Deal damage to a unit equal to the number of cards with an odd cost discarded this way. So, guaranteed it's going to be 3 from you. Likely you'll get another 1 or 2 more from someone else. But, you know, however much you want to gamble, you could be like, okay, maybe it'll be 6. I think this card is real fun. Obviously, you want to build around it, but it's another fun one to play in this deck that I really enjoy that it exists, even though I wouldn't call it competitive. I would say it is an extremely fun card to bring out in this format. Spare the target. Great. Return an enemy non-leader unit to its owner's hand. Collect that unit's bounties. Second part's not going to be as widely applicable, but, you know, it's nice when it happens, but more often than not, it's just get that out of here. Get it back to your hand. We don't want to see it. If they've put a bunch of pilots on a non-leader sort of, if they put a bunch of non-leader pilots on a ship, then you're like, okay, great. Well, those can just go in your discard pile. Same thing with Waylay. Return a non-leader unit to its owner's hand. You don't get bounties, but you can do it to your own units if you really have to. Or if for some reason you really wanted a pilot that you had on the ground to be playable onto a vehicle. Waylay is just such a good removal card. It's temporary, yes, but a lot of times that means if somebody really wants that unit, then they have to spend another turn paying for it. It means it's not going to be ready when it comes in. All that kind of fun stuff. Waylay and Spare the Target are just great for getting rid of problems temporarily. You're My Only Hope. Okay, of course I had to put this card in here. Yes, it is sort of a janky card, but it is one of my favorite cards. Maybe my favorite card in the first set, honestly. 3 cost. You may look at the top card of your deck. You may play it. It costs 5 less. If your base has 5 or less remaining HP, you may play it for free instead. I've been hearing about people using this in a combo deck with Yoda to play Endless Legions for free, which is just... You know, someone out there understands me. But in this deck, more importantly, it means we attack with something using Han's ability. We know what the top card of our deck is, and thus it gives us the information we need on whether we should play You're My Only Hope or not. When would you want to do this? I think more often than not, you want to play You're My Only Hope if you see a 5-cost unit on there and are really excited about getting it out maybe like a turn early. You unfortunately can't use Lando with it, but this could make a huge difference in terms of tempo for your deck. Like if you have this card in your hand, let's say turn 2, you attack with the 1 unit that you have from your first turn. You use Han's ability. You're like, oh my gosh, that's a 5 cost. That's the MC-30 assault frigate on top of there. Great, I attack for a +1 with my ground unit. Then on your next turn, you're like, You're My Only Hope. Get out here, buddy. It's 3 to get a 5 cost. Boom. That is a huge tempo advantage. So this is one of those that I think is good for new players because it's not too much. Like I feel like they'll immediately grok what they're doing with it, even if they're not familiar with all the cards in the deck. I love this card so much. Commandeer. Oh boy. Okay, so there's one of these in the pre-con, and I have just had some games against people in even in different formats where this card is absolutely devastating. 5 cost, take control of a non-leader vehicle unit that costs 6 or less without a pilot on it. If you do, ready it. At the start of the next regroup phase, return that unit to its owner's hand. So this gets you so many things. It gets you control of something that somebody else was going to use. It gets it readied, which means maybe they just brought it out expecting to use it on their next turn, and you're like, oh, well, I'm going to take that now. Thank you so much. And then it goes back to their hand, meaning they have to play it again. They have to spend resources again. It's a huge tempo hit. They can't deploy a leader onto it. It's just fantastic. I love this card so much. I think it's a great little trick to have in this deck for when you're feeling like, ooh, I need a few more options here. And if you're really desperate, if somebody plays a really juicy 5-cost vehicle on your deploy turn with Han, you can commandeer it, deploy Han onto it, attack big. Han's going to die, yes, because when this gets returned to owner's hand, any leader or leader upgrade that somehow gets returned to owner's hand by game effects just dies. But it could be enough to shift the tide in your favor if you really need it, which I think is super cool. Out the airlock, give a unit -5 for this phase. Kind of like hello there. It just extremely debuffs something. It can kill something just straight up. You can use this to kill Chewie. You can use this to kill the lurking TIE Phantom. It's just really useful for things that don't die to conventional methods. And Vanquish. Defeat a non-leader unit. Great. We do have this card for just defeat something card because you can't play Takedown. You can't play Rivals Fall. There's all sorts of things that you can't use. But Vanquish is good. Just gets rid of something. We need those options in this deck. And we got 3 upgrades. Foresight. Come on, y'all. You know we got to have Foresight here. Attached unit gains. When the regroup phase starts, before drawing cards, name a card. Then look at the top card of your deck. If it's the name card, you may reveal and draw it. How are we going to know what the top card of our deck is? Because we attacked using our leader ability. Yes. Oh my gosh. So this is awesome early on. Feels good to stick on whatever 1 cost you can play in your first turn if you get it that early. Obviously, you're not going to be able to guess it right immediately because you're not going to get that intel on your first turn. But in terms of getting you a few extra cards, I think this is a fantastic upgrade for pretty much anything in this deck. Smuggling compartment, or some call the snuggling compartment. Attached to a vehicle unit, attached unit gains on attack ready your resource and gives it +1/+1. So it's just another way to get a little bit more out of what we have to make it easier to play Lando's shield giving abilities. I think the smuggling compartment is good. A lot of our vehicles are not too exciting. This makes it slightly more exciting, but not in a super threatening sort of way. It's not like the dorsal turret or the twin laser turret or all these other things. It's like, nah, man, we're just smuggling here. Nobody needs to care about this. And then perilous position, it's more removal. We'll take our removal where we can get it. When played, exhaust attached unit, give it -2/-2. Obviously, we're playing this on other people's stuff. And this also, you can play on a leader, shut that down for a turn, hopefully giving you a chance to swing, finish off something that somebody else already got. There's a lot of options with this. So I think this is a good alternate removal, because keeping all of this to 1, 2, for 1, 3, 5, and occasionally a 7 cost is like, it's amazing how limited the deck building gets. But I think it's kind of a fun, weird, wonky deck, and that's everything in there. I would love to know what y'all thought about this one. I did get a chance to play it actually at my FLGS, and I was very close to winning, except I did my traditional not do math right at the end when somebody was running Lake Country as a base, and I'm like, okay, I can swing with Lando, I can do this, and then, oh wait, no, you have more health than me, dang. But I think even getting to the end was pretty impressive with this one, considering it is, like the other one, a deck that any of the rares in it are super cheap or already come with the pre-constructed deck. So you should be able to make this one for not too much money. And I like that it held its own with everyone else's decks that have like legendaries and expensive rares and all those fun things. So what would we do to make this into a better deck? If like you play it a little bit, you're like, okay, great, I got some more cards, I'm not feeling like as much of a beginner anymore. I think that Yoda might be a more solid include instead of Lando, because you don't have to pay for his ability. And, well, what does Yoda do? Action, if a unit left play this phase, draw a card, then put a card from your hand on the top or bottom of your deck. So you can essentially stack the deck however you want in order to make Han's ability always work. So if you are playing with a mix of costs of that are evens and odds, then you can make sure to keep even cards in your hand that correspond to numbers different than the costs of the units you're trying to attack with. This was my original thought of the leader that I would want to use in this situation, but I feel like it's not intuitive enough for someone that just buys a spotlight deck, is learning to play the game, and needs something a little bit more intuitive while they learn the ins and outs of how all the cards work together. But I think Yoda is the way to upgrade this deck to make it a little bit more versatile, to allow you to put different ranges of costs, not just 1, 3s, 5s, and 7s in there. And of course, you get him as a big 4/9 with restore 2 and the likely kill something because you stack the top of your deck with something good. Like, Yoda's just awesome. And the cost curve is roughly the same because he comes out at the same time as Lando. So what are some cards that you could use to upgrade this deck? Obviously, you get the Millennium Falcon piece of junk. This would be perfect for this deck. The fact that it comes in ready is just so good. Like, of course, you want to put in as many Falcons as you possibly can, but unfortunately, Lando's Pride is 6 resources and Gold Leader is 6 resources. But obviously, this would go in there. Then the legendary Han Solo has his moments, would be awesome in here as well. It's a 4/5 with ambush or piloting 2 when played as an upgrade. Gives +2/+3. You may attack with attached unit. If it's the Millennium Falcon, it deals its combat damage before the defender. So good. It just wipes things out. It's just fantastic. I keep trying. I keep hoping and hoping that I will pull one of these in the weekly play boosters, but I have yet to do that. One day, fingers crossed. And of course, Luke Skywalker, of course you put Luke Skywalker in this deck. It's hero with blue, yada, yada, yada. So yeah, that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for me. I'd love to know y'all's thoughts on this. I know this is a weird one. I know it's a little less intuitive than Boba Fett, Cad Bane, play card, does damage. But I think there's some neat stuff in here that if you played with this deck a few times, it gives you a good jumping off point for saying, all right, I understand these basics. Here's some ways that I'm going to build around Han because I like how weird he is, and I think I can manage to make it work with other cards in my deck. And let's see, what have we got coming up next? I think I'm going to maybe do a few more of these turn the pre-constructed deck into a Twin Suns deck kind of things, because we have leaders out there like Moff Gideon and General Grievous who are just like, their pre-constructed decks are maybe not the strongest, but like I think that they are an interesting base for other things. I still want to get my making budget decisions in Twin Suns decks out. I really like doing the more beginner focused stuff on this format. We've been getting a lot of new people where I play recently, and I feel like it's really nice just to have resources for people new to this game because I don't see a lot of it on YouTube. So as always, thank you so much for watching. If y'all have any ideas for things that you'd like to see, please let me know down in the comments. I'm always excited to hear from people. And that's going to do it for me. Let's do this again sometime.